jump starting it again after like 5 years.
Okay.
I don't know why we just stopped during the pandemic because we probably didn't do much face to face and whatever. And it's a series called Milwaukee Talks,
Okay.
and it's just a Q&A style. The article is just Q&A. There'll be a photo of you. We can take a photo of you today, or you can submit one if you have professional photos you'd rather have me use.
Okay.
But it's just like a really casual conversation. I have a list of questions, but whatever, wherever we
Sure.
go with the conversation is fine. There's also a video. This is new though with the Milwaukee Talk series.
Okay.
There's a video portion. So what we're going to do though is record the whole thing, and then I'm going to go back and take the best parts and then just put it into like a reel type
Okay.
thing for Instagram, maybe TikTok.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. So you're my first guest in the
Nice.
the 2.0.
Reimagined.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Cool.
But yeah, I've always enjoyed watching your stuff and following you on social media, and it's going to be nice to get super nosy about your life now. So, all right. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll
No,
see.
and if there's seriously, these are like, this is all very wholesome content, but if
Nice.
there's anything you're like, I don't want to talk about that, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, no problem.
Nothing's live, so
Okay.
it's all fine. So, David Caruso, hi.
Good afternoon. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. You were born and raised and have lived basically in Milwaukee your entire life.
Yes, I have. I grew up in Wauwatosa, which was excellent, and kind of got started in loving things like theater and being a very creative young person.
Where'd you go to high school?
Tosa East.
Okay.
Yes. My husband now teaches at Tosa West.
Oh.
So we're still super connected to the district, which is cool.
When you were in high school, though, was there rivalry between Tosa East and Tosa West? Or
There was. So he was also a Tosa East student. We're 12 years different, so we didn't go to school together. But he also was an East Sider, but now he teaches on the West Side. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it makes for an interesting little, change. But
right.
It's great. He has a great, he teaches theater at Tosa West. He has an excellent program, very well known and renowned. So he's made the West Side definitely come up a level, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I decided to stay in Milwaukee to continue school at Marquette University, which is where I studied visual communications and television broadcasting, and loved my experience at Marquette, and happened at that time to have a business that was run out of my East Side apartment on Murray Avenue called Dynamic Design, which was really just at that point, like when businesses were doing newsletters and things like this. But it was just a graphic design business that did very like cool, small business oriented collateral materials, things like that, just to get myself through college. But that is also when Ed DeBevick's opened up on Jefferson Street. Do you remember?
I do remember that.
Yes, so Ed DeBevick's opened on Jefferson Street, and
you were perfect for it.
I didn't know I was, but
right.
I decided to audition.
And for people who don't know what Ed DeBevick's is, what is it?
Yeah, so Ed DeBevick's is an amazing 1950s diner concept. It's a very theatrical, entertainment-themed restaurant, which at that point they had 8 locations, and the Jefferson Street location was obviously new to Milwaukee. It was very, very fun. Ed DeBevick's went away for a while, but now they have opened a reimagined Ed DeBevick's back in their flagship city of Chicago. So it's kind of fun to see them on social media again. I haven't been back to the new location, but I'm looking forward to it. But what ended up happening when I started working for Ed DeBevick's here in Milwaukee.
And that was you as Bobby.
I was Bobby.
You were Bobby.
Yeah,
okay, that was
Bobby.
Your alter ego,
yes,
or okay,
yeah.
okay. So
I was very preppy.
Okay.
Argyle sweaters and bow ties. But Bobby was very fun, and I
sassy.
ended up very sassy. I basically started working there very part-time on the host team, so front of house, and I ended up falling in love with the hospitality industry. And it was unexpected. I didn't really anticipate working in restaurants, but I ended up becoming a manager at that location. We kind of began this private party program at Ed's, Party at Ed's, And we used to have, as I'm sure you might remember, like the best New Year's Eve party in the city. We converted the lower level of that 780 North Jefferson building into a private event space. So it was very, very fun. I spent some time like implementing a program like that at some of their other locations and ended up moving to Chicago to work in their corporate office where I was a marketing assistant, but eventually director of marketing for the company. So it was really an unexpected twist. I stopped going to Marquette and went to work in the corporate world. I loved it. I lived there and worked there for about 4 years. And then it was a very interesting Friday afternoon. I was driving, or I was on the L train going back to my apartment in Oak Park. I called my mom, and I remember very, very unexpectedly saying, on Monday, I'm going to turn in my resignation. I think I've finished this journey here in Chicago, and I'm going to come back home and start a business, and I want it to be called Dynamic Events. So that was kind of this launch of what this past 24 years has been for me.
What a vision for you, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened,
Yeah,
right?
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I decided to resign from that position and then come back here to Milwaukee and spend 30 days just kind of figuring out like who's in this event space, what are people doing, what's the industry like here, and how do I need to really differentiate myself to kind of introduce my business and start realizing my dream of this um, concept of producing events in a way that it never really had been done before here. At that time, it was mostly women that were working out of their homes. I immediately knew that being a man in the business would be a little different here. I immediately knew that I should have an office or studio space and not work out of my home. So there were things that I knew out of the gate would really help to differentiate how I was planning to create this model of producing events in the city. Um, and most importantly, I just spent as much time as possible getting to know people, both in the industry but also out in the community, just to kind of get some momentum behind the business. And
how'd you do that? Did you just go to a lot of parties and bars and
yeah.
restaurants? Is there a lost year?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, right, exactly. And I also then went back to school. So
Oh, okay.
at the same time, I had 1 year left to finish at Marquette. And I knew
Good for you.
more for my parents that I should finish my career at
Yes.
school. So I did that too. But it really was, it's interesting because although I had a lot of experience in marketing and PR and everything in the restaurant business so far, events, although I had done like restaurant openings and celebrity appearances and things, it never, like the producing big events was something I hadn't really done before. So I always tell people it was more of like a fake it till you make it is how I started. But I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
So I was never like nervous about it. I didn't have any doubt. It's just that you have to get the traction. And
Exactly.
that's really the hardest part.
Right.
And the thing that really kind of changed the trajectory of my early career here was the grand opening of the Milwaukee Youth Arts Center. There were two really fabulous women who were co-chairs of that event at the time, and they had seen me and seen my work and kind of knew about me in the community and reached out to see if I would help them with that event. And that is at the time where there used to be, Helen used to do on Sundays the like recap in the Journal Sentinel about events that happened over the weekend. And she called out me and what I had done for that grand opening celebration in her um, summary of the party. And it's kind of what got people's attention. And from there, it was a little bit easier to get people to talk to me, consider me, and ultimately hire me to do some of these most talked about events over the past almost now. Soon it will be 25 years.
Wow. Congratulations. So what makes you so good at this? I mean, I know you can't give away all the special sauce, but I mean, why is this such a natural fit for you? You always knew you could make it, and then you said, I'm going to do this. Now you're so successful at it. Like, what is it about you that this is just such a great fit?
You know, it's an excellent question. And I think one of the things that has kind of given me the confidence over the years is exactly what you said. Like, what is it about you? And I think this is what I tell people when they're looking to get started in the business, and why I don't really get nervous about are there competitors, because it really is. It's about me or another event producer that makes how they do things different. So much of what you see in the events that I have the privilege of producing with clients and organizations and people, it's like my heart and soul. It's like my creativity, my mind, my heart, my soul, my energy, like bringing a client's vision to life. So it's like if you were to have the same project and the same client hired you, the event you produce would be very, very different. And so that's kind of how I explain it is, um, for me, ultimately, I love to produce experiences that make people feel something. That is something that is very engaging, it's very immersive, it tells a story. And I figured out how to do that in event experiences that I think kind of gives my events like a signature stamp, I think. Oftentimes people can arrive to a party or celebration, and as soon as they get there, if they don't already know it from an invitation or something, they know it's an event that I have my
What would be
hands on.
something that is obviously David Caruso?
Well, most recently, two things. One, going back to the grand opening of the Baird Center. The Baird Center for our community, for our region, for the convention industry as a whole is just an unbelievable opportunity. It's something that we should be so proud to have in Milwaukee. And when Marty Brooks and his team approached me to be the lead producer for the grand opening, I was like beyond ecstatic and so excited because of how much I love this city and knowing that this really is like historic in terms of the impact for both jobs, our economy, just everything about what that center represents is amazing. So having that opportunity was great. That was from start to finish something people knew every second of that party that it definitely was infused with my flavor. And it was very, very fun. Even more recently, just a few weeks ago, the Big Gig Dress Rehearsal is something that I've had the honor of doing with the Summerfest organization for the last 13 years. The last one was called Uptown Hoedown. It was country western to the max. It was so much fun. And one of the things that I think is neat is that people anticipate attending events that I get to work on. And it's kind of fun because there's a little bit more of a buzz behind it. But also, they show up. Like, they know that it's going to be something special. And so they were dressed in cowboy hats and leather pants and fringe vests. Like, they got into it.
Nice.
And it made it even that much more fun
Nice.
to be a part of. So I really do think those are the things that make the experiences that I work with clients on different. It's really the demonstration of storytelling, the exhibit of like heart and soul and passion, and it all ends up um, being very prevalent in terms of how an event experience feels. There's a lot of people that can make things look great, could put on a great party. There's lots and lots of people. But I think one of the reasons why your question is so excellent is because there is another layer to it. And I feel, grateful that I've, really honed in on that part of my ability and turned it into something that has made what I do think is a signature.
Absolutely. So do you have fun the night of the event or the day of the event, or is it just a blur, or are you actually able to like interact and enjoy, or is it just there's just too many balls in the air? Like, what is it like for you when the event is finally there and it's happening?
Yeah. Well, I think I do have fun. First of all, that
Okay,
is
good.
for sure. I do have fun. It is very high stress, but I also learned like really, really early on in my career, and again, it's something that I noticed people were thinking was different about me. So I I listened, I observed how they were responding, and I made that. I always say accentuate the positive when you're, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Like you gotta really make sure that you're highlighting what the good things are. And so what people were saying to me early on is like, one of the things that's so different about you is you're so calm. Like in all of these environments, like nothing's really throwing you. You're calm. Like it's chill to be around you. It's not a hectic scene, although it's very stressful to be responsible for. And so when I heard people kind of telling me those things early on, I realized like, okay, this is something that really is positive. So the more I can create an environment that, yes, is high stress, but if I can make sure that people are having fun, that people are feeling like they're respected, and that I want them to be successful at whatever role they have in this creation, and where people don't see me sweat. Like I always say, if there's something that needs to be dealt with, do it behind the scenes. Or if you need to like shake it off, or if you need to, have a moment, I always would step out. So I think that that's another really important thing for anyone to realize. And I tell people this when they say, what are some of your tips for even just entertaining at home? Like if I want to host Christmas, like what are some of your tips? And one of them is that your energy has a huge impact on how the guests experience the party. And so whether a small party that you have with friends at home or the grand opening of the Baird Center, truly like the energy that you as either a member of the creative team or another vendor partner or the host of the event, that energy that you give is going to have a huge implication on ultimately how the event is displayed. So I try to remember that too, like as I'm going. But I also realize this is a fun business. Like it's a party. So for me, I want to realize that like I should be having fun too. And I really do feel like this has been a privilege. So when I'm in these moments, I realize like this is something super special. What's unique about this industry is it is once in a lifetime because these are live events that only happen once. And so I do really try to stay in those moments too, because it is unique. It's a unique job, and I feel very, very privileged to have it. So I want to make sure that I'm in these moments. I'm appreciating them. I'm having fun, and I also am confident that I'm very focused on what also needs to be done, and knowing that, of course, it's going to be well handled.
So what's your dream event to plan anywhere in the world?
Well, I have had a dream this whole time, and I'm not afraid to talk about it because I do believe that, like, talking about dreams are ways that it does come to fruition.
Exactly.
But, I grew up in the age of the Oprah show. And for me, I was glued to the television when Oprah was on. And I know, like, some people that's kind of cheesy or like, oh, Oprah. But for me, she really was a person that like, very early on, like, I was young when her show started, but I knew, like, I just could watch that show. And I knew that she was doing what she loved. She was doing it in a way that was her own style. She was really well respected for it. She was elevating her industry by what she was doing as for many the first kinds of conversations on TV. And I also at that time always thought that my job would be TV. So that was part of it too. But so my dream is to do an event for or with or that touches or somehow is associated with Oprah. And
you hear that, universe?
Yes,
you hear that?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
And so I do tell people, I've had this funny thing throughout my whole career now. I say to people, like sometimes when I have to say no, I say, I have to say no to this project, but also because I have to make space in case Oprah calls.
Yeah, you do.
So I always have a little space just in case.
Right. That's great. Yes, because drop everything, right?
Yeah.
If Oprah calls.
But one of the things that has happened, and I'm more like maybe realistic view of what is a dream of mine. One of the things that has happened over the trajectory of this um, career has been starting to do destination events. So about like 10 years ago, actually now maybe around 12 years ago, I started, going outside of Milwaukee, traveling to do events. I just got back from a visit to Tamarindo, Mexico. I did a planning trip for an event that's coming up there in March that I'll be doing. And so I also think like, my God, like I get to do events in these, Four Seasons Tamarindo, in a place where a lot of people don't even get to experience it. And I'm there and I'm creating something for other people to have this once in a lifetime experience. So that has been also interesting because then when I come home and I do events here, like that kind of more global experience of doing events in other regions of the globe has really transferred to making what I do here even more special because I see what happens in other areas. I see what hospitality is like, what standards are like, and I try to make sure that those things are also a part of what happens here at home.
Absolutely. Yes, it's important. So, what do you love about Milwaukee?
Oh man. Well, I will say one of the most fun things that now coming out of the pandemic, I had this idea of starting a television show with Visit Milwaukee. That first iteration of the show was called Good Things Brewing. We did it for 2 seasons. The second season was Emmy nominated. And now, with Visit Milwaukee, the second iteration of that show is called Milwaukee Made. And our first season just was aired across 13 markets in the Midwest in June. And it's been a really, really fun project. But part of why I wanted to host a show with Visit Milwaukee was because there were so many things that I love about Milwaukee that it was important to me that those people and neighborhoods and places and organizations were highlighted in a way, kind of like conversations like this, where you can get more into it with people and you can learn more about them or a place or whatever it might be. Because I do love so many things about our city, especially the people that make our city so great. And I realize like the stories, you just don't get to hear enough of the stories. And some of the stories you hear are just always about the same thing. So I think that the amazing opportunity to host this show, and now we're moving into season 2, is because we get to talk about, the parks, the neighborhoods, the people, all of these unique and interesting things that people realize, like, of course, we have an amazing culinary scene. We have architecture that's unmatched. We have an entertainment and performing arts sector that is just unheard of for a city of our size. The lakefront, the parks. I mean, it is endless what makes Milwaukee awesome. And with the show, but also just in my industry, when people come here for a conference or a convention or for the first time, I cannot tell you how many times people say, "Oh my God, I never expected this to be Milwaukee."
Right.
It's like it's always surprising people.
Yes.
How cool and how special of a place it is. And when
Yes.
they come here, they're like, "Okay, uh, I get it. Like this
Yes.
is a special place."
Yes.
And then they want to come back.
Yes.
It's funny. One of the station producers at, I think it was the Kansas City um, affiliate where Milwaukee Made aired. She goes, "I watched all the episodes, and I see a lot of shows. I'm a producer." And she goes, "Watching that made me want to move to Milwaukee."
Wow.
So
That's
I
awesome.
think, people just really need to, and I'm so happy with the work that your team is doing and others to continue to spread the word, because I think we finally are in this position of not being bashful
Yes.
about how excellent of a city we have. And
Yes.
we're finally like, yes, let's shout the word.
Right.
And so I appreciate, your work in
Oh,
that realm, and
thank you.
so many others that are finally like, let's just shout it from the mountaintops and let people know this is a super special place for so many reasons. And I just love that I not only get to experience it every day, but I get to be a part of helping tell that story.
Yes. This is my Milwaukee brother from another mother. It's so we got a high five. I love everything you just said so much. So you've been in the business almost 25 years. How has Milwaukee changed during that time?
Gosh.
I mean, in
In a
so many
lot of
ways.
ways,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
But specific kind of to the event industry,
Mm-hmm.
I think what has been very fun for me is to kind of see, um, the trajectory of what people are realizing in terms of the potential that events have on both in a social way, like for families and people celebrating milestones, to especially organizations that are raising money, nonprofits, and also corporations. Like throughout this 25 years, people have really realized that doing events well, investing in quality experiences, and working with people that are able to communicate your mission, your vision, your story, all of those things in a live experience in a well done way has a huge impact on both. Let's just talk about from a corporate standpoint on both just branding and making a cultural statement, but also on the people that work for you, your vendors, your colleagues, those kinds of well done experiences, I have seen firsthand transform how corporations do business in Milwaukee. And it didn't always used to be like that. And so I do feel like one of the things that has changed, especially in my industry, has just been people realizing that there is a way to use live event experiences to have a huge impact on whatever it is important to you. And that's been really fun. And it's been something where, again, we have drawn things now like the RNC and major conventions and major, music experiences and theatrical debuts, and those things have all happened because over all these years the city has developed in a way that people are noticing, like entertainment events, live experiences here in Milwaukee. We can do it. We can absolutely do it. And I do think that no matter what people's politics are, I was the creative director for the RNC welcome party, 13,000 people. And I know from that experience, being a part of it firsthand and hearing responses after, that people knew Milwaukee could do it after that experience. And they said it was one of the best welcome parties that the RNC has ever hosted. And again, whatever people's politics are, the point is that it was something that put Milwaukee on the map in terms of that kind of caliber of experience that was locally produced.
Nice. A couple times you've gone, and I'm brought in storytelling, and as a storyteller, I'm just curious whether or not I'll use this or not. Who knows? But I'm curious to know more about how storytelling, you bring it into an event. Like, where do those things intersect? Like the event and the story.
Yeah.
Like, just talk a little, say more things about that. I would just love to hear anything around that.
Yeah, I think what's neat for me is the storytelling comes out in events in the details.
Yes.
And so I always pay very, very close attention when I'm talking with clients, even for weddings. It's actually one of my favorite things to do is just have like very casual, chill conversation with people that are getting married to find out like, what is your story? And it's like, of course, whatever, like, what are your favorite colors, or what do you like, where's your favorite place to eat? Like those kinds of, I don't even really, whatever, it's fine. Like that's all good. But I want to get into like the nitty gritty, like what is your story?
Yeah.
And then infuse elements of that, turn them into details that can be infused into an event. And what's interesting is that then when guests arrive, let's say at this wedding, and they're looking around, and lot of my, I mean, I work on the luxury end of weddings and events, so they're big and they're luxurious. And part of that is for me, that's not really the point. Like, it's not just about making things luxurious and over the top. What I love is when people walk into an experience like that, that is luxurious and over the top, but they start noticing, oh my gosh, these details, these little touches, this is so personalized. And when people feel that they're in a personalized environment and that there's a meaning to it, and it's not just, beautiful and big, they completely relax. They feel like they can have fun, and they know that there was intention, that there's something special about it. And that's where I think the magic happens, is the number of times I have checked in with guests or said, how's your evening? Or I hope you're enjoying yourself. And they say to me, I've never seen anything like this. And it feels just like this couple, or it feels just like my granddaughter. To me, that is so special. So that's how I look to take stories, people's stories, and infuse them into a party. It's all about the details. It's really funny. One really small thing, but I had a client. They got married. I did 4 weddings for this family. One of the daughters was a medical examiner for the city, and she loves her job just like you and I love ours, like equally as passionate about her job, looking at dead bodies, like
Right.
but so smart,
Yeah.
very, very smart person. And so one of the things that we did is they had this beautiful wedding cake. And I just told the baker, like, I didn't even tell the couple I was doing this, but I just said to the baker, like, I need you to put like 2 legs sticking out of the cake and put a tag on it. You like hang a tag. And, I didn't tell them or anything. And I wanted to see, like, are they going to know when are they going to notice these legs and the tag? And I am telling you, it was like the talk of the night.
Yep.
And it was nothing. Like,
Right.
it didn't cost any money. It was just like a thoughtful thing.
Yes.
In an element where everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is totally perfect. Because it was quirky, just like she was.
Yep.
It meant something.
Yep.
It was unique. And when are you ever going to see that again?
Right. Exactly.
So those are the things to me. There's another experience that I mean, there's so many highlights, but I was just thinking of this one the other day. But when we first had the Calatrava built and added to our lakefront, I remember walking in there and you see that big hole in the middle of the floor that looks down into the parking level. And I remember I immediately thought, like, at some point I have to find a bride who wants to rise out of the floor. Like, I need to figure out who this is going to be. And long story short, and many, many years later, I remember walking into the art museum with a couple that was getting married, and I was showing them the venue and considering it for their event. And the first thing she did is she walked right over to that circle and looked over. And I was like, oh my God, I found my Beyonce bride. Like, this is her.
That's awesome.
And so I think, like you asked before, what makes your events different? The other thing is, I'm not afraid. I am not afraid to say to people, I walked right up to her and I said, do you want to rise up out of that floor? And she's like, I don't care what else we do for this wedding. Yes, I do. And so that's part of it too. I'm not afraid. Like, I realized early on too, is that, these aren't really experiences that I could pay for myself. Like, it's not really, my income bracket.
Right.
However, I don't know. And the truth is, other people don't know either.
Right.
People don't know what they want. And when you can open up their imagination and their creativity and their minds to possibility, a lot of people want it.
Right. That's such a big part of your job that I think, just really should go without saying, but it doesn't. People come to you, they're like, I want a wedding. It's not your job just to do the details of the wedding. It's your job to help them create the vision.
Yes.
And that seems like that would be really fun, but also could be really challenging at times too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people they don't know what they want.
Right.
And how do you help them get to that place?
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to show them. They have to have faith in you. Like, you know, I mean, a number of things.
Yeah. It's a little bit of both, especially, after having done it, building a reputation. What I'm really, really, really blessed to have now are clients that completely trust me. Because in order for these experiences to be extra special, they're very customized. So I'm not just pulling pictures off of Pinterest and saying, let's replicate this for your wedding. It's not that. It's very, very customized. So oftentimes it really is just a rough sketch on a piece of paper of something that we're going to build, or a custom fabrication or something. I mean, now we can get really specific with technology to kind of take an idea and turn it into a good rendering of what it will look like in person, but it's still not. So it's really, a lot of it is trust. I always tell people that I appreciate kind of being given grace and space, because as a creative person, you have to be in it in order to have these ideas come to life. And sometimes it takes me a minute to figure out, how am I going to turn this couple story or this organization story into an event. And I need to really get to that moment when I'm feeling it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I've got this party. And I'll run to my desk and put this inspiration document together. But it sometimes happens at really odd times. And so people know that it's all part of my creative process. And it isn't necessarily about checking off a task list or a timeline. Like, if you're really going to get something special and you're really going to get the David Caruso experience, that comes with understanding that a lot of that is just organic creativity, that there needs to be a trust to that process.
Yes.
And also, one of the things I feel most proud about, but it does, to your point, it has taken a lot of work and energy, is if you look just scrolling on my Instagram or Facebook feed or whatever, nothing looks the same. Nothing. And there's a lot of other event producers that you do the same scrolling on their social media feed, and it's all soft colors, or it's all blue and white and green and blush and all this, and it literally looks the same. That's never been my way. And that's beautiful too, but for me, it's like the clients that are right for me are the people that understand that this is going to be beyond what they've imagined for themselves, and something that will also be different from what other people are experiencing too. So, but that's the fun, because it's different. Every time it's different. And I get energy and I get inspired by that. To some people, that's overwhelming. Like, I can't do something different every time. But for me, part of the challenge is when people say to me, well, how are you going to make next year's event better? Like, how are you going to top this? And we always do. I don't know. I just think that for me, that's where the inspiration comes
from. Nice. So when people invite you to events, are they nervous? Because I'm kind of an event planner too. I'd be kind of nervous, or I'd be like watching your face to have, you'd be like, no, right? I mean, do people ever say that if you're coming to their wedding and you didn't plan it or whatever?
People say it all the time.
Okay, yeah. Right.
And so, really for me, and this is totally honest, is when I get to go to an event that isn't mine, honestly, it's so great for me to just be a normal guest and chill out and just experience it. I really have no interest in. The hardest thing is when people come to me and they say, so what do you think? I mean, that's the worst question, because I don't want to, that's not what I'm here for. I just want to have fun like you're having fun.
Right.
And so I, number one, I do love the opportunity to go to other events and just to enjoy them. I'm really not in a mindset of judging or I really don't get into it, because the truth is, it's most events aren't intended to be one of mine. It just, and that's not, I'm not saying anything weird. It's just they're not meant to be, and I know that, and they know that, and
Right.
so why are we trying to compare something?
Exactly.
What I ultimately love is, I do really appreciate when people put a lot of effort into an experience that they're doing with whatever resources they have. To me, that's when I really appreciate an experience. So, it's, and I know it's not an easy task. So, to me, I don't, um, although time is really precious, like we all have to choose what we spend our time doing. So for me, sometimes it's not going to other events all the time, because that's not really how I love to fill my private time. But when I choose to go to other events, it is fun for me to just be able to kick back and not be worried about stuff.
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense. So, on your own time, and I kind of know the answer to this because we're social media friends, but I'm going to ask you anyway. You really love decorating your own home, right? As well.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that Christmas is your favorite time?
Yes,
okay.
it is.
And can you tell me a little bit about, because you got a lot of trees, dude.
We have a lot of trees. Yes. Christmas, you are absolutely correct on many things. One, our house is definitely our sanctuary. We love it to be a reflection of our personality and who we are. Thankfully, me and my husband are very, very in sync about our environment. And it is so much fun to create it together. So we love, love, love doing that. And we have, of course, a French bulldog, Miss Mabel, that we love, but we don't have kids. So we can create a house how we want to create a house. And we can have like one of the bedrooms that when we moved in was a nursery for a kid before our family. We can put leopard print carpet in and put a dressing room. We don't need a nursery. So we have a lot of flexibility around making it our own.
Yes.
And then Christmas is by far our favorite time of year. We do have 8 Christmas trees. They are all decorated in a different way. It takes a strong commitment to decorate our house.
When do you start?
So we do have an agreement that we will not start until after Thanksgiving. So we put Thanksgiving is done, and then like that weekend we get to it.
Okay.
But we have to actually take a lot out of our house to make room for Christmas. Like that's how crazy it is. So just this past year, as we were putting it away, I'm like, oh God, I don't know, like how long can we carry all this down and up in the basement? Like we're gonna need help after a few years of this. But and again, it's like mostly because we like to have people come and enjoy it, and for us, we get like such pleasure by seeing people come to the Christmas house and enjoying it and having cocktails with us. And last year at our Christmas party, like we were screaming Christmas carols. Our favorite pianist was playing the piano, and neighbors and friends were just like singing at the top of their lungs.
Aww.
And my husband Adam he literally said to me, he's like, this is a dream come true.
Aww.
So it's fun for us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I read somewhere that you're a wicked ping pong player. Is that true?
Now that's really good, because that is a hidden talent that like literally nobody
it's
knows.
Out there though.
Yeah.
It's about to be out there even more.
Right.
How did you become such a good ping pong player?
Well, growing up in our basement, my family had a ping pong table. And I also played tennis with my dad.
Gotcha.
And so that was really kind of how that came to be. But where this story happened, which was really funny, is a couple of years ago, we rented a beautiful cabin up in Wausau, I think, really on a lake, and just a retreat weekend. And my mom was there, our nephew, and then for a day, my sister and her husband came. It was just a hangout weekend. And they had a ping pong table. And on one of the evenings, Adam was downstairs with our nephew playing ping pong and with my mom. And then I went downstairs and I'm like, okay, let's play some ping pong. And so I started playing ping pong with Adam, and everyone was just like shocked and screaming, getting out their phones, like taking a video, like, what is going on? Like, who knew you played ping pong? And I'm really good at ping pong. So that's how that all happened. And it was really funny because even like a spouse or a partner, it's like he never knew that about me. And it's like, for why? You know, like it's really not a big thing. I'm not like that good at ping pong, but it was funny because no one expected it.
Right.
So
Right.
now it is kind of a joke.
Yes.
When we meet new people, Adam's like, and he's a kick-ass ping pong player.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. That is so great. How many years have you and Adam been married?
So we have been married almost 6 years, together almost 10.
Did you plan your own wedding?
So we planned it together.
Oh.
And what's really funny is, so when I turned 40, I said to myself, okay, I don't ever think I'm going to get married. I never imagined that for myself. I was like super career focused. I didn't even like date much. It just wasn't something on my radar. So my 40th birthday came and I'm like, this is it. I'm just going to do my party the way I want to do it. I'll consider it to be like my wedding. And I had this amazing, fabulous at 40 birthday party at Bacchus. And it was incredible. And then 2 weeks later, I met Adam.
No
and
way.
we first met at Omesto in the Third Ward. And I remember after we met, I'm like, oh God, I don't know. Like, I've never really had this vibe from somebody. It was like a very, like, awakening experience. And I didn't know this then until a little bit after, but apparently, well, not apparently, right after that first date, he called a mutual friend of ours who we actually kind of met through and told her, I think I met my husband. So
what? I just got goosebumps.
Didn't know. I know. And so it was really funny. I had this 40th birthday and I'm like, okay, that's it. That's my wedding. And then 2 weeks later, I met Adam and I'm like, oh my God, like this is really kind of weird. I've never felt this way about somebody. We obviously dated for a while. And it was just like this really natural time where we just started talking about it. Like, well, what does this really mean? And kind of what's the next step for us? And so, through that kind of process and conversation, we both felt like this is what we wanted to do because of really the authentic feelings that we had for each other. So we were engaged for 2 years and then we got married. But what was really fun is that, again, because Adam and I are very in sync about these kinds of things, we did it together. And that is what was really cool because, of course, I could have just planned the wedding, but it was so much fun because we really did do it together. It was very, very like both of us throughout in many, many ways. But Adam did say in comments at the wedding, in front of like 250 guests, he's like, can you imagine what it's been like for me to plan a wedding with David Caruso? Like, he did acknowledge that was a little stressful. But it was funny.
So
People
honest,
chuckled.
though.
Yeah,
Right, and funny.
But
where was your wedding?
So we created our wedding to actually be a surprise for people.
What?
So people were invited, of course. We had them show up at the Hilton. But when they got to the Hilton, they got on coach buses and had no idea what was going on.
I love this.
So they got on the coach bus.
They're like, we're being kidnapped.
Yeah. They got on the coach bus and then the TV monitors dropped down and it was a video from me and Adam. And we were welcoming people and acknowledging that they were probably wondering where they were going.
Just a little bit.
And so we had a route that the buses went through downtown, and then they pulled up to the backstage entrance at the Pax Theater. And we had a red carpet moment for everybody. They walked onto stage, and we had our guests seated on stage, looking out into the historic theater. It was beautiful. Um, and to make it extra epic, because we're just a little over the top, Adam and I actually rose up on the orchestra pit.
Oh my God.
Instead of walking down the aisle. So as we were rising up the orchestra pit, chandeliers were lowering down above the audience.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was just this like, and I will tell you that people say to me still to this day, like, what was your favorite part of the wedding? And we thought for sure it was going to be this dance party that we planned called Come Alive. But we both unanimously say the ceremony was unbelievable. It was just, we knew it would be special because of what was happening, but how it felt, oh my God, I like still get goosebumps from it, like how it felt to be there with those people in that setting and what was said, and like, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
So that was cool. And then people walked off the stage and through the house of the theater into the lobby, and we had cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and they got to enjoy the theater for a little bit. Got back on the coach buses, took them to the Hilton, and in the Monarch Lounge, which is not used for private events, but the Marcus family was very good with us and allowed us to clear out the Monarch Lounge. We had our dinner in the Monarch Lounge, which was just unbelievable.
Gorgeous.
And then we concluded the night with another surprise. And we brought everybody up to the fourth floor of the hotel to this Come Alive dance party. It was so epic and so much fun. We had an amazing band, and we had, you know, stilt walkers and all these amazing performers, and just this great, lounges and dance floor and band, and it was just this explosion of joy. And we danced for hours and had there was a 4-foot diameter disco ball. And in order to even get into the hotel and up to the ballroom, they had to shut the escalators off, and we had to make this contraption that like was able to sit across the escalators and then turn them back on to get it up. It was like a whole process just to get this disco ball up there. So yes, that is something that, again, like, I don't think we'll ever forget about that experience, and I don't think the people there will ever forget about it. And so
I don't think I'll ever forget about it from sitting here. So.
yeah. And I guess, for me, that's like what I try to encourage people to do in whatever way you can.
Right.
Is to like go through times and experiences with yourself, your family, your spouse, your friends, your community, in ways that just will be unforgettable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be about, always spending money on it or having a 4-foot disco ball. Like, that's not it. You can have that in an environment like this, or sitting on your back porch around a fire pit in the summer with friends. But whatever it is, like, I feel that, the more we can all create these kinds of experiences that just are literally unforgettable, is what makes going through this journey of life so much more special. And that's what I try to do.
There's our end quote. There we go. There we go. I got a couple of, it was wonderful. Thank you so much. You're obviously a natural at this sort of thing.
Thank you.
But I just want to ask just some random questions for you, just to make sure. And you can put this in writing if you'd rather email it to me, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to list the events that you're most proud of that you created.
Yeah, I'll send them to you.
So send them to me. I don't know if it's a resume or a list, whatever it is. Like, I want to make sure that I have that.
Okay.
What are you working on right now?
Yes, so right now, what I'm super excited about is at the end of the month, the National Association for Catering Events is bringing a conference here, and it's obviously a group, an organization that I've been involved in through the industry for many, many years. So I'm really excited. For the first time, our national conference is coming here. So I have the pleasure of producing the opening reception. So for all of the attendees coming to Milwaukee for this event industry conference, the first party that they are going to attend is a party that I'm producing with a lot of other local vendor partners at the Harley Davidson Museum.
Fun.
So it's called Fresh Vibes MKE.
Nice.
It's going to be really super cool and just like a celebration of what Milwaukee is. And also another very exciting project coming up is the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. Their 75th anniversary induction ceremony is happening at the Barrett Center. I'm producing that,
Nice.
which is great. Badger Liquor has their 90th anniversary coming up, which is going to be a spectacular party for their organization. I'm very excited about that.
Note to self, get yourself on that guest list. Okay, right.
Yes. And I'm working on, this is going to be another for our city, just spectacular, but the grand opening of the new Associated Bank Theater Center for the Milwaukee Rep. Bernadette Peters is performing at their opening party. I am doing an experience for their top donors that evening, which I am really, really thrilled about. And the Milwaukee Rep is just doing amazing things. So they're just, it's always something fun and different, and I'm excited about it.
Do you ever just lounge around the house?
Yes.
Okay.
So another thing most people don't know about me is that my, like being outdoors in our backyard and gardening and tending to the lawn and gardens, like, is my relaxing time. I love to do that. So I spend a lot of time out in our yard and gardens. And to me, even in the middle of the day, I also work from home now. That's another post-COVID thing that I work from home now. And so oftentimes, like if I just know I need a break and do something for a couple of minutes, I'll go outside and do something in the yard and come back and be ready to go. But yes, I do a lot of relaxing when I need to, and I've always been blessed with being able to sleep. I'm a very good sleeper. And so for me, that really, really helps because otherwise, in this kind of environment, and there's so many things always on my mind, I'm so blessed that I can get good sleep.
Yep. I am as well, and he can attest to that. It drives him crazy, but isn't it just such a gift? I know. I lay down and it's like, it's just out.
Yes.
I know. I feel the same way. Like I wouldn't be able to do so many of the things that I do, especially as I get older now, without that solid ability to hit the sack.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, we're good. I guess I just had wanted to know a little bit more about your upbringing. Like, you were born and raised in Wauwatosa?
Yeah, so
and your parents, what did they do?
Yeah, I was born in Wauwatosa, and I am the youngest of four. I have three older sisters. I'm the only boy.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really, I guess, the way that I describe growing up, I always feel grateful that I was the youngest because I also was a very good observer. Like I saw my sisters, creating their own paths and experiencing things. And I kind of like learned how to kind of, you know, through them do things that you wanted to try or not do things that didn't go well for them or I enjoyed being the youngest, and I think it gave me an opportunity to kind of observe things through a different lens and kind of create my own path. I have a mom who is very creative. She is very, very fun. She's very spunky. And she always, I mean, literally, no matter what, she just gave space and freedom to try things, And so I really didn't grow up with like reservations.
It's wonderful.
And I think that had a lot to do with me being confident in knowing that I could do things. So my imagination was wicked off the charts. My mom always tells people this when she talks about me. She's like, he would always test like not so great and like, school tests or
Right.
those just ACTs or whatever they
Right.
but people would always say, but his creativity and his imagination are like it's immeasurable on these kinds of scholastic tests. So that was to me very much a result of my mom just kind of seeing in me that I was super creative. I had an imagination that was just wild. And she was excited about letting me experience that. So that really helped because um, I did a lot of different things. And something that really changed things for me was getting involved in theater. So that really started young. I was like grade school when I started doing community theater. And being in the theater was really a great place to develop, for me, a person like me, to develop around other creative people, um, fun people, again, with the storytelling and imagination. So that's where I fell in love with like production, creating things, creating environments, creating scenes and things like this. So I did that at very young, through middle school, through high school. My closest group of friends to this day are my high school theater kid friends. We're very tight. Um, and then I kind of got away from theater when I went to uh, college, but it was always something I loved. And now, of course, with Adam being a theater director and teacher, like, we're very engaged in the theater community again. So that was kind of like, growing up, I think how this kind of brought to what's happening in my life now.
So if I may interject, so was coming out a non-issue in your family
Well, that's a good question too.
based on
It really was, for me, um, it really never was. I think what was neat about my experience in coming out was that, one, in school, I was really involved. And I did a lot of good things at school. I really was, I was very engaged in student groups and organizations, one of which was all about making the student body a safe place. And, there was just a lot of things that were important to me then. And so students at school like respected me for what I did, and it never really was about my sexuality.
That's so wonderful.
So although it wasn't perfect, and I remember that there were definitely days where I like avoided walking through certain parts of school because I knew I would hear hecklers or people would be saying things about me. So there were like things I would avoid sometimes. But in general, being a theater kid and doing good for the student body, like I feel like there was respect for me that never really made my sexuality a big deal to people. Um, and in my family, it's something that people just kind of knew. Um, it just was always kind of how I presented myself without like always saying it.
Right.
Of course, at a certain time, there was a conversation with my parents. And what was really neat about it was, of course, they were accepting. Um, but, I think sometimes dads are a little different. Not that he didn't accept it, but it's just different when you're a dad and you have a son that's gay. And it's not really something you might believe in, but I mean, and my dad is terrific, so it's not anything that was ever about it not being a healthy relationship, but it was just different for him,
Yeah, I get that.
Um, my mom, however, before we had this conversation, which is probably when I was around like 18, she had already been going to retreats for moms of gay
Oh,
kids
that's so sweet.
so that she could figure out how to be a supportive mom. And like, I mean, I didn't know she was doing that.
Yeah.
But she had already been kind of prepping herself. And so that to me was, I have a sister who's gay also. So we really hit the numbers. And so, for our family, it's just been kind of a natural part of how we've existed.
Nice. I love it.
And I think that it is important for people to, for sure, have an environment and to put people to insert yourselves into groups of people that are supportive, but also that you just feel comfortable around.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I've always picked things like I haven't picked a career that kind of puts me in a place where it's not a lot of, I wouldn't say my sexuality has turned out to be an advantage in what I do, but just like my ability to be myself and to be a creative, authentic person. Like there is, a benefit to how this kind of career supports that kind of a person.
Exactly. I totally see that for you. Yes. Do you still have the Giving Circle? Or do you still work with that?
Yeah.
Do you want to just say a couple things about that?
The Giving Circle is unbelievable. So I started producing this event for Aurora Healthcare Foundation, and it is called Hope Shining Blue. We have been doing it for 13 years. When I first started doing it, it was just, another job, and opportunity to produce the event. It is in support of Aurora Healing and Advocacy Services. So the services that they provide to women and families that are dealing with sexual assault and domestic violence. But a couple of years into doing the event, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like these women that I'm meeting, their stories, what they've been through, how they're thriving. I mean, this is incredible. And so it quickly became very personal to me, because I felt like for the first time I was connected to an organization that had immediate impact. The event was incorporated a fashion show that celebrated survivors. So some of the models that were in the fashion show that was a part of this event were women and men who have gone through the services in different ways, but that had been assaulted or had problems in their relationships. And anyway, I and we told their story. So we would tell their story in a video. They would walk the runway. They would be celebrated and enveloped with love from the audience. And what I was watching were these people that they would start this process and feeling very, as you can imagine, like, nervous and uncertain. It's a big thing to put yourself out there and to tell your story. So I would watch them go through this process of being like unsure and timid and nervous, rightfully so, to when they were at the event, their story was told. They had had their hair, their makeup, their outfits, and this positive environment, and the audience just like enveloping them with warmth and love and cheers, and then by the end of the event, they literally were like transformed people.
Oh.
And so I was witnessing this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable to me. So yes, I became a founding member of the Giving Circle. And the Giving Circle is a group of individuals in the community where we help to raise money for these services. And these services are free of charge. So at any time in your life, people can go to the Healing Center on the Aurora Sinai campus or other areas where they provide these services at West Dallas and other places in their system, and get counseling, art therapy, all kinds of different services that for families, women, men, kids that are dealing with sexual assault, domestic violence, and they can get the help. So this event now has turned into something where we've had survivors from early years in the event and now 13 years later whose lives are so different. They have written books. They have become counselors themselves. They have built new families. It's unbelievable what these people are doing. And so to me, that is something that I have become super passionate about, and I never expected it. It's not something in my life that I've dealt with. However, like seeing there are some women that I've met that simply should not be alive with what they experienced. And so I think to myself, like, how do you do that as a person? how do you go to work, try to have your kids have some kind of normal life, pay bills, like do all this you're supposed to do, while at the same time you're getting assaulted and beat up in your house. I just don't like, to me that was unfathomable.
Yeah.
And then to see people be able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and to then learn through help of events like this and counselors and places like AHAS, to be able to turn their lives into something where now they can have meaning, has been, it's unbelievable to me. So I am like super proud about that work and being a part of that, and knowing that it makes a very, very positive difference.
Wow, it's pretty amazing. Well, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
your
thank you
story
so
and
much.
trusting me with your story.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to go through it. And it'll be very uplifting, obviously.
Good.
Like, yeah, 'cause you are a very uplifting person. Also, that's really all I write. So,
Yeah.
like, I can criticize things, I can be critical, but that's not what my job is about.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
my
yeah,
job
yeah.
is we're celebrating the positive in Milwaukee, and
Nice.
I'm just really glad you're here. So, and that you
Thank
stayed
you.
here because
Yeah.
you bring so much to Milwaukee, and that makes me really happy.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
And
you're
this was fun, so thank you for asking me.
so glad. This is going to be great. So,
And I'll